Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
On every episode of Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, the 2026 Summer Backlog Attack continues with the Tower of Druaga.
Yeah.
The Tower of that word, Bioshock 2, and Portal Revolution.
You know, I thought, I was like, what is a Druaga? Is that somebody? I thought, I read somewhere maybe it was like a corruption of like Draugr. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. But it's like either some Norse monster or it was like there were enemies in Valheim called Draugr. So I was like, that maybe it's that thing. And then I continued to look into it, and the prevailing theory is that it is a combination of like two Babylonian deities. So like, okay, well now this is way out of my area.
This has gone into some Jeopardy category that I can't keep up with.
Yeah. Oh man, take Tower of Druaga for 1,000, please.
I'll take combination Norse and Greek mythologies. Yeah. All right. The Tower of Drugs. I'm just going to call it Tower of Drugs from now on. That's okay, right?
No.
Tower
of Drugs.
Man. No. Yeah. Okay. Cool. But you played that. You played that game.
I did, yeah.
Fantastic.
Whatever it's called.
Cool. So, happy Backlog Attack to everybody who celebrates.
Hey.
Yeah. We have some folks from our community are making a concerted effort here in the first week of the Backlog Attack to assemble their crusty old games from their collection to make a little bit of progress on those. I have too many windows open, but I know Superleaf 444 made some crazy progress in the past week and completed Donkey Kong Country 2 with 102% of the game.
That's too much. You only need to do 100.
I know, really, above and beyond.
Yeah, you can stop at 100.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by the games that go past 100%. I forget what it was in Symphony of the Night, where it was like 209 or something. It was like way more than 100, and then there's just a little bit extra.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, some of it did make sense, but then I don't know where the extra figure after that came from.
Does that mean they completed it twice?
Well, because you have the secret inverted castle, which kicks off sort of the second 100%, but I forget where the extra 5 or 6% on top of that came from.
Weird.
My favorite is in Bit Trip Runner 2, you can get 300% by, I think, completing the entire game on all 3 difficulties, which kind of makes sense. I mean, that's really just 3 separate 100%. So
it's 3 playthroughs, which is where my brain goes when you say multiples of 100. Yes.
Yeah. But I think there's an achievement you get at the end that says like 300%. So it's like, okay, that's cool.
Nice. So kudos to Superleaf for their mathematically insane accomplishment.
Yeah.
They are also big fans of Donkey Kong Bonanza, which was a game that I was considering going back to for my Backlog Attack, and they've encouraged me to do that at some point. So I will have to pick up the controller once again for Donkey Kong. I played a lot of that game, but just never got across the finish line, unfortunately.
You didn't get 102%.
Did not get 100. No, I think I was probably somewhere in the 60s or 70s if I had to hazard a guess, which is about where I sort of like fizzle on games like that, I think.
It'd be interesting to see like if that was more formally tracked, like where do people tend to end up percentage-wise throughout all their games that they give up?
I always think that's really interesting when you look at, I know Steam does it, I know PlayStation does it, when you look at like your trophies or achievements or whatever compared to your friends or compared to the community, and how frequently they're unlocked. I remember looking on the Steam Deck when I finished Dragon Quest VII remake or reimagined. There's the word they used. And and I got the little achievement for kind of finishing the story. I was like, what percentage of the community does that? How many people playing this game got to the same point that I did? And it was only like 40%.
That seems high. That's like way higher than I'd expect. For finishing the game?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't 106% by any means, but it was for finishing the story.
Oh,
for
yeah,
triggering
that's
the final boss.
Yeah, like defeating the last boss. I'd expect that number to be lower. But that's a massive game.
It's huge. So yeah, I think I remember thinking at the time that it seems, to your point, surprisingly high and also kind of disappointingly low. So I'm not sure what the developers are expecting when it comes to 100-hour plus games, as far as sort of level of completion is. But I guess 40% of the community getting that far in the game is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, especially for a Dragon Quest game.
Yeah,
I guess it's definitely more popular than it was in like 2000, 2001 when it came out on PlayStation 1. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So how was your backlog week? You were playing Tower of Druaga.
Yeah. Should we get into it?
Sure.
I really like this game. I liked it much more than Wizardry, actually.
Oh.
I didn't have anything against Wizardry, but this was another case of it's a fairly old game, not as old as Wizardry even, but like Wizardry had that nice update that I was playing. For this version, I was playing the Arcade Archives version of Tower of Druaga on the Switch. Which I've sort of talked about that series before. It's by Hamster Corporation. They do all these arcade and console ports, but it's essentially the arcade version from like 1982, I think. It's quite 1984, somewhere around there. Anyway, it's very old, and it's not really enhanced in any similar fashion like the Wizardry remake. So I was it's another one of those games that makes me think, oh, this might be going too far back. This might be too old. And sure enough, I started it up, and you're just a little guy wandering around a maze. Like, it's got the very like tinny sound effects, and the guy just moves painfully slowly around this maze, and I'm just like, oh man, this might have been a mistake. But anyway, the premise is you are this guy, Gilgamesh, as we were talking about Babylonian myths. Who, what is going on in this game? So there's some demon, Druaga, who has taken a mystical artifact and also kidnapped a princess, as it were, and imprisoned her at the top of this tower. And you have to go in and get the artifact back and rescue the princess. Sound familiar?
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of princesses getting kidnapped in the 80s.
Yeah, I think she's a princess. She might have just been some damsel in distress, but I don't know. But gameplay-wise, very simple. They just drop you into a maze. Sort of like a top-down maze, so like you would see in something like Gauntlet or other like 2D sort of like, it's not really a dungeon crawler, but like that sort of perspective. And all you have to do is you have to find the key hidden somewhere, or not like hidden, but like just located somewhere in the maze on each level, and then avoid all the enemies and get to the exit, and then you ascend a floor and do it all again until you reach to the top of the tower. So pretty simple premise. It's an action game, so there are enemies roaming the maze, and you've got your trusty sword, which, as it were, you swing painfully slowly. And this was another point where I was just like, I don't know how long I'm going to last with this game, because it's not like, it's not, Devil May Cry, or what would be a more appropriate? Who uses a sword? Like Nier Automata or whatever. You're not doing flashy sword moves or anything. You're just taking out your sword, and you can either do like a little slash. You can actually hold the button down, and you just keep your sword out in front of you, and you can stab things that way, which is kind of cool.
Ah.
But very like rudimentary sort of action gameplay.
It's something like the charge up, like Zelda.
No, it's exactly like that actually.
Okay,
he holds out his sword. I'll come back to that in a little bit. So anyway, so fairly clunky, just very first impressions of this. So I'm just like, oh man, how much of this can I realistically tolerate? The hook here, though, is that each floor has a hidden treasure on it. And the conditions for unlocking the hidden treasures are all different, or like maybe not all completely different, but there's a lot of variation between floors for what you have to do to unlock the treasure. And also the treasures themselves vary from like my favorite, the jet boots, which like doubles your movement speed. Like, okay, so that's
nice.
that's mandatory.
Yeah, you need that.
You pick up stuff like armor and sword upgrades. There are items you pick that help you deal with enemies later on in the tower, but you essentially want to be collecting all the treasure, or like almost all the treasure, as you ascend the tower. And it's up to you to figure out what you need to do to reveal the treasure chest. And that is sort of like the big puzzle aspect of this, because the game does not give you anything, like not even any leads as to what you might need to do to reveal the treasure. And if you remember, I mentioned as we were starting up the Backlog Attack, so this game has sort of this reputation for being very obtuse and not telling you what to do. And since you probably don't know how to unlock all these treasures, you can very easily get to a point where you cannot complete the game. Or like I was going to say, it's very difficult for you to complete the game, but you can actually make it impossible to complete the game because you missed a key treasure.
And are these like missable? You can't go back to collect them if you've somehow walked past them, or
I think at some point you can like get sent back to a previous floor, but it's much more likely that you will just get taken out by some enemy and have to resume, have to start a new game.
Wow.
So I was making an effort, like, I'm going to play this for like an hour or two. No hints, just try and figure out what's going on. And that was like mildly successful. A lot of it was just me trying to deal with sort of how clunky everything felt, like sort of get reacclimated to playing a game that came out about like 40 years ago. And then I sort of had to figure out that, like I didn't know really anything about how the gameplay worked as I started. So the fact that there were these hidden treasures was new to me. I just sort of figured out, it seems like if I defeat a certain number of these slimes roaming around, that causes a treasure chest to appear. But only on this one floor. On the next floor, there's like some other kind of enemy that you have to defeat, and maybe that's what makes the treasure chest appear. But I also really enjoyed that because it's like it's a little bit of a puzzle on every floor, and it's not always the same solution. So I think on the second or third floor, there are these blue knights roaming around, and the first time I defeated one, the treasure chest appeared. So I thought, oh, okay, so defeat one of the blue knights. That's how you get the treasure. And then I died and had to restart. I came back to that floor and I defeated the blue knight and there's no treasure chest. I thought, okay, something else is going on. And then it turns out that it's one of the two knights is like marked as the one you have to defeat, but you just can't tell which one it is. So it's just fun little twists like that where it kind of keeps you on your toes. And then some of the conditions later on get way more esoteric. There's like, I think there's one later on where you have to walk to all four corners of the map for that floor, and then that makes the treasure chest appear. So not out of the
nothing
question.
guiding you in that direction. It just, you just have to sort of, if you were a gamer in 1984, you just had to sort of figure this out.
Right. So you can see how it might draw some criticism.
Right.
But you could also see how some people might get really into this and be like, oh man, I've never seen the treasure chest on floor 15 or whatever. What could possibly be the trigger?
Right. I must unearth this game's secrets.
Yeah. This is a detail I really like. So this was an arcade game. It was like super popular in Japan. And I don't know if this was like a standard like thing that was issued with copies of the game, or if this is just something that popped up organically. But basically if you saw this game in an arcade, there would be a little like notepad on the machine of people, like other arcade patrons, who would write down notes and sort of like clues on what they discovered, like here's how to get the treasure chest on this floor, or like here's some like theories on how you might unlock the treasure chest or whatever. Which is just a really cool sort of like communal thing. It really makes me feel like playing games back on the NES and like comparing notes with your friends at school. Like, oh man, I get to like level 8 in Legend of Zelda and I don't know what to do. So you discuss amongst yourselves. This was before the internet really existed.
Yeah. This is the early video game equivalent of the, like Dark Souls had the little hints that
that's exactly what it is, which is so funny. So it's like,
what's the one you like? Oh, Death Stranding has the little signposts, right? For other players,
just notes from the community on how to advance. So I think that is so cool. I like never was in an arcade that had this game, or I probably didn't even notice it because it would not have jumped out at me. But that I think is just the coolest thing, that there would be the little communal Tower of Druaga next to each machine.
Are you are you old enough, and that's a horrible way to start a question, to have rented video games in the past? From a video store? Okay.
Big Blockbuster fan.
Totally. When I was a kid, we'd have a Blockbuster in my town. It was Video Galaxy.
Yeah.
But they every now and then you would rent a game, and the instruction book, if you were lucky, was inside, and somebody will have written on the notes page in the instruction book, because there's always a notes page in the instruction manual.
Yeah.
Some little like the Konami code, or some hint or something like that of how to like get extra lives or whatever. That's that version of this, I think. Yeah. Is the first thing I thought of. That's cool.
I can't think of any situations where, like, one, I was renting a game where that would have been useful, and two, where somebody had actually written something in the notes. I would almost I feel like a lot of the time they would just be like cheat codes or something.
Yeah, like save codes, because a lot of those early games you had to put in a specific code to resume your game. It didn't save it from one. I know I'm not explaining this to you like I know, like you don't know it, but
no, I got it.
Yeah, so there would be people would write their codes in there, and you could then get to a certain place in the game without having to have played. Whatever.
Oh, you know what the people may have written down? There was like on the NES, those Mega Man passwords. They were all in like these grids of colored dots, which was super cool. Which is a very unique password system that just popped back into my head for some reason. But anyway, so Tower of Druaga, really interesting puzzle component. Probably impossible to realistically solve by yourself, because I don't understand how anybody was able to figure out some of the conditions other than just hundreds and hundreds of hours of trial and error on these different floors.
Right, just do everything, right?
Yeah. And I have to say, so I was really like struggling up until like maybe floor 5 or so, because it's pretty unforgiving. Like the certain enemies can just kill you in one hit. On floor 5 specifically, that's when all the wizards start to appear. They're like these teleporting wizards that shoot lightning bolts at you. They are super fast and like pretty unpredictable, and it was just a lot for me to deal with at that point. Plus, I was still just like not really sure how the puzzle component worked. So I thought, okay, this might be it for me. This might be as far as I get in this game, because it was such a pain to go back and start from floor 1 every time. Like you don't even get the jet boots until floor 2. So at floor 1 every single time, it's just like, just moving as slowly as possible to get to the exit.
Ugh.
And then what I figured out is, well, I didn't really figure it out. I checked the manual, because the arcade archives version of this game comes with a nice digital manual.
And what I Googled was.
Yeah. You can continue from the previous floor, or actually any of the previous floors that you've reached, if you do a little button code before starting the game.
Oh.
And it starts you with all the items you had picked up to that point. All the items that were still in your inventory. So you could start with those jet boots. So that was great. So I was like, okay, well, so maybe if I do this, maybe if I can just start on floor 5 every time, it'll be a little more tolerable. And then somehow, like at that point, it just took off. I was like, okay, something just clicked, and I'm just like dodging all these wizards. I'm collecting all the treasure chests. Oh, so the other thing is, I think this was like past the point during my playthrough where I decided like, okay, maybe a little help is okay. And the other nice thing about this manual is that it just tells you the conditions for finding the treasure chests on each floor. So I started to do that. I was like trying to still figure the condition out for myself every time. And then some floors I just wasn't able to do it. So I'd pass on to the next floor. Because at this point I didn't realize how essential some of the treasures were. So I was just like, okay, well, we didn't get that treasure, but not all of the treasures have been super useful at this point. So maybe it's fine. You know, I'll go back and, you know, if it turns out I really missed something critical, I can start a new playthrough or something. And it was going pretty well. I started getting to the point where there were all these invisible enemies, and they seemed to be wizards because they were just like lightning bolts coming out of nowhere, like just murdering me instantly. And okay, it was like, I wonder if I missed something that would alleviate this problem. But I just kept going. I felt like maybe they're just invisible enemies after a certain point. That seems pretty harsh, but we'll see. And then I finally got up to floor 20, I think, and the entire floor is just dark. Like you can't see the layout at all. And at that point, I just thought, okay, so clearly
a flashlight or a pair of glasses or something. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, because like you could not be expected to complete the rest of the game not being able to see the maze. So at that point, I put it down. But I really like, man, based on my first maybe 20 minutes. Or even like the first 30 seconds of this game, just steering the character around and going like, oh, he is not an agile character. To, you know, cut to an hour and a half later, I'm sort of got a hang of it and understand how you're supposed to progress. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. I really liked sort of learning how to fight the wizards and unlock all the different treasures and everything. I was doing a new playthrough, so I started from level 1, making full use of the continue system and the hint system, and just trying to get every treasure on every floor. And it was going very well until I accidentally just like fumbled the continue inputs, and then it kicked me back to floor 1. So that was a little disappointing. I need to figure out if there's a way. Like I might try and find a version of this that uses save states or something, so that it's a little more foolproof, and maybe I can finally get to the end. But I ended up really enjoying it quite a bit. I really like the secrets system. A lot of the challenges, like the wizards and some of the later enemies that you encounter, especially those invisible wizards. It turns out that, yes, I did in fact miss an item that makes them all visible. And it feels like if you continue up the tower and you collect all the treasure along the way, you just end up essentially leveling up Gilgamesh and making it more powerful. So you can see all the enemies instantly. You can resist more attacks from them. Your equipment gets more powerful. So I really like that idea as well. If you're just very diligent, then some of the stuff in the game, which seemed completely insurmountable, is maybe not so big of a deal. So I fully plan to go through and maybe do like a complete playthrough at some point once I can get the save state situation figured out.
I'm surprised there's not a version of it that has all of those modern, the re-released kind of Nintendo virtual console games allow you to save anywhere kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it is on the Nintendo Switch NES app, the NES port. So maybe that would be a good place to play it. I haven't read great things about the NES port, but maybe I'll give it a shot just for fun. But anyway, so actually ended up having a really good time with this. And that's that's just on top of the fact that playing this sort of similar to Wizardry really illuminated this is why all these other games are like this. So this is one of the earliest action RPGs. And aside from all the other action RPGs that came after this, there are so many elements from this that just directly basically got copy and pasted into Zelda 1.
Oh, wow.
It is really fascinating. So if you are like a huge Zelda 1 fan and you've never played this, you absolutely should, at least like watch a YouTube video.
Right.
Because like the teleporting wizards, the slime enemies, the knights, like they're all just Zelda enemies, like the prototypes for them, essentially. And so coming back to the like holding out the sword thing, you hold down the button and you stick out your sword, and as you're doing that, you like, so if you don't have your sword out, you've got your shield in front of you, which is also another important mechanic, because that blocks anything a wizard will shoot at you. And that's one of the things you have to think about in the game. So when you're holding your sword out, you put your shield to the side, so you're defenseless from the front. But if a wizard tries to shoot you from, I think, the left side, I guess, then your shield is there, so it blocks it. And that's how it works in Zelda 3 or A Link to the Past or whatever. So that feels like, just a direct sort of like directly inspired by Tower of Druaga, which I thought was very cool.
Is there, are you aware of anything sort of in the lore of Zelda that directly references this game as an inspiration, or have you not done the research on that?
In the lore? Like in-universe story-wise or development-wise?
Development-wise, yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm 100% sure that like Shigeru Miyamoto must have spent hundreds of hours playing this. I think I while I was reading whatever wiki, there was some comment about he had a Tower of Druaga machine in his office at some point.
Oh, wow.
I think that was Miyamoto.
that it makes all perfect sense.
Yeah, but like you don't even need to like, just if you play this for an hour or two, you just assume like, oh, so yeah, of course he had a
it's not
machine.
It's not a coincidence that these are the same. Yeah.
Yeah, or he would spend hours at the arcade after work playing this, like probably a lot of Japanese people at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
So
well,
really
kudos
satisfied
to you for trying to replicate the 1980 something experience of just going in blind and not knowing what you were doing for a little while, anyways.
Yeah. I think like as much as I would have liked to continue playing it that way, some of these conditions are just like, I don't have 1,000 hours to put into this game.
Right.
Like, figuring out some of the more esoteric conditions. Some of them are just crazy. But I really do like that puzzle component. I'm wondering if, I don't know, it feels like it's not really something in a lot of games.
Yeah. It feels like the first sort of like association I made is kind of more modern puzzle games, like a Blueprints or Lorelei and the Laser Eyes or Passenger to a certain degree, where like you don't know what's important to the overall and what isn't. And there is sort of like a compounded wisdom or accumulated wisdom that you pick up as you play more and more of the game. That I really like is that, from a smart game design philosophy, they're kind of teaching you how to break the game to a certain degree.
Yes. Yeah.
And I kind of dig that.
I did have a really great moment after, like, on one of the floors, you unlock the treasure by blocking a certain number of lightning bolts from the wizards. And then later on, you encounter these slimes that shoot the same lightning bolts. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. Let me just stand in front of one of these guys. And sure enough, he shoots a lightning bolt, and I block it with my shield, and immediately the treasure appears. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of starting to get how this works.
Right. You got to think like a video game. That's great.
Yeah. So that was very cool.
Very cool.
What else? I want to say anything else about this? Oh, so last thing. This is another thing I really liked about the arcade experience. So I was saying that there's this continue feature, which you activate by, I think you just hold down the sword button when you press start. So you can, like, anybody could do this in the arcade. So effectively you just pick up from where you left off. But if the machine runs long enough where, it sort of loops through the title screen and like the high score screen, if it does that loop too many times, it resets the continue feature. So it's sort of like, you can keep on playing when you're there at the arcade that day, but you come back a few days later, you have to start all over.
Oh.
So it's just kind of like a fun, like, temporary save file almost.
Right. Keep you putting quarters into it.
Yeah, exactly. But
very cool.
Yeah, had a much better time with this than I was expecting. I really enjoyed it quite a bit, and yeah, I hope to actually get to the top of the tower someday.
It's surprising, unless this exists that I'm not aware of, that this has not been revisited in our kind of modern gaming lifetime. You would think.
Oh, they have made a bunch of sequels.
Oh, really? Okay. I
Yeah.
was gonna say because this framework sounds like it would resonate with kind of a modern gamer philosophy.
Yeah, I don't know if there was like, I don't know how recent the most recent work is, but there was and they made a few sequels immediately following, and then there was one I think on the PS2 called the like Nightmare of Druaga or something.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I'd always see that in stores. Like I'd see the box art, and I had heard of Tower of Druaga. So I was just like, oh, this must be connected to that old game somehow. I didn't really look into it because I wasn't interested in playing Nightmare of Druaga. But just looking back on it now, after having played this and seeing the box art again, I was like, oh yeah, it's the same guy, and it's like Gilgamesh in his gold armor. I don't know what he's up to in this new game, but I think it's crazy that there's just like this series that continued at least onto the PS2. And then I think there was like an anime fairly recently, like, well, probably 20 years ago at this point, but like long after the Tower of Druaga originally came out, which is just like, man, I really underestimated the impact that this had in Japan. It was just like crazy popular.
Interesting. Cool. Sounds super fun.
Yeah. I really liked it. It makes me think like, oh, maybe I should be playing more of these old arcade games. Like it's not something I that is like my go-to type of game, but who knows? Maybe that'll change.
Nice.
Anyway, what classic Japanese arcade game did you play this week?
Bioshock 2.
Yeah.
Lots of Bioshock 2, and I started Portal Revolution, so I figured I'd kind of weigh in kind of on both of those as a progress report. Have not rolled credits on either yet. They're surprisingly robust games, but yeah, Bioshock 2. It's more Bioshock.
I think that was the quote on the box. Was more Bioshock.
Yes, everything you loved about Bioshock, just more of it. Yeah. I did not play this. This game, I think, is controversial. I Googled why is Bioshock 2, and it auto-filled hated.
oh, that's not good.
Yeah. I'm not hating it. It's I think I mentioned last week, it's actually a really kind of visually striking game. There are not a lot of games that look like Bioshock. I think to sort of double down on kind of the Art Deco and the world design and the whole underwater thing and just the scale of those levels. It's mostly a hallway shooter, but it's the visuals in the Bioshock games are not replicated by a lot of video games.
Right. Yeah, they definitely had that art style going for them.
Yeah, to the degree that like if you see anything that's sort of in that font now or that sort of like stylized, mid-century art style, that it kind of like immediately goes back to, associates with Bioshock. So this is more of that. I mentioned last week you play as a Big Daddy, which was sort of the big bad, the mysterious, kind of big bad character that you were up against in the first game. So you're kind of immediately more powerful. Your right arm is a drill. Your left arm, you're picking up plasmids and shooting, firebolts or lightning and et cetera, et cetera. There's usually some puzzle element to the left hand power where you're using fire to melt ice or you're using electricity to start engines. This takes place sort of immediately after the effects of, I guess not immediately, it's about 10 years. 10 years after.
Funny because sorry to interrupt, but the Big Daddies in the first one, they did not have the plasmid powers.
No, they did not.
But they just decided that they should for this version.
Yeah. Well, and the weird thing is like there are still Big Daddies in this game, and you're like it's Big Daddy versus Big Daddy. You will encounter them occasionally. You still have the Bioshock 1 thing of kind of like rescuing the little sisters, which are the little girls that run around the game and harvest Adam from fallen citizens, which is sort of like a life force power that if you have enough of it, you can use to upgrade your abilities and things like that. So you're fighting other big daddies so that you can steal their little sisters. And it sounds crazy to say these words out loud. And then you have sort of the Bioshock 1 conundrum of, do you harvest, air quotes here, the little sister, basically kill her so that you can take all of her Adam, or do you free her? You put her back into the basically back into the ductwork of Rapture, so that she can continue collecting Adam. But the rewards for that, of letting her live, are you get less Adam, but you get the air quotes good ending.
You feel better about yourself.
Right. Yeah. You feel better about this sort of like weird duality decision that you've been sort of faced with in the game.
Yeah, man, that whole era in video games was just like, do you make the bad choice and get more points, or, you know, I kind of forgot that like everybody went through that. Yeah,
I remember when I played Bioshock 1, like the scuttlebutt from the community at the time was, you know, people were like, do you save them or do you harvest them? And I was like, I was going to be antisocial. I'm just going to be the bad guy. And I killed every little sister that I found and took all of them at him. And I decided I'm going to play. I remember this distinctly in Bioshock 1, and I got sort of the bad ending, the negative ending, because you know, you're essentially, I mean, you're kind of the villain in Bioshock 1 anyways, but yeah. So in Bioshock 2, I decided I was going to do the opposite thing, and I've been liberating or freeing all of my little sisters, trying to get sort of I don't think anybody in this game really gets a happy ending, but trying to get the happy ending. Yeah, it just, I don't know. It feels like it kind of hits all the beats. There are no real like revelations. I remember there were some things, kind of character reveals and motivation reveals in the first Bioshock that felt surprising. Mm-hmm. From a kind of story beat and character development perspective. And there hasn't been anything in this game that feels like that. It's been a long time since Bioshock 1. I won't spoil it for anybody, but there were a couple moments in that game that were like, what just happened? What? Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. There was pretty like groundbreaking twists in that game.
Yeah. And Bioshock 2 just feels like a simmer. Like there's really like the main villain is not nearly as compelling. There's a character that shows up where you're like, oh, you're pretending to be my friend, but this person's not going to be my friend. And they turn out to not be your friend. And it just, it's sort of like, I feel like it checks all the boxes. Again, I think I mentioned last week that this whole thing feels like it was sort of like designed by a committee. And
it's a different developer. Yeah.
It is a different developer, different development team. At this point, I think Ken Levine and his crew were already working on Bioshock Infinite. So this was farmed out by 2K to a bunch of other developers. So it feels like kind of the greatest hits of Bioshock without sort of hitting any of the impact or memorability of that first game.
Like the direct to DVD Bioshock.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I don't know. I would think it's almost a disservice to call it Bioshock 2 because it, I don't know that it doesn't necessarily does anything interesting with the story of Bioshock. If you were hungry for more like, I don't know, Rapture exposition, there's not a ton of it in this game thus far. The kind of minute to minute, like walking around collecting all the stuff, like it's a lot of like checking bodies for $5 and and you know hacking what you call it, health machines so that you can get a free med kit and stupid little mini games and
finding all those audio logs.
Oh, so many audio logs. Yeah. It's fine. I don't know. It's not, I think I was right to have skipped it 15 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, everything you're saying lines up with all the criticism I remember when this originally came out, where it's like, it's not really as inspired as the first one. It's just, like you said, it's more Bioshock. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I kind of down on sequels in general, especially when they feel like it's just sort of like an expansion pack. It's like, hey, here's 100 more audio logs. Here's like a new map and a couple of new weapons, but yeah, like doesn't really justify its existence other than just like giving people more Bioshock to play
as a cash grab, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it sort of felt like at the time, and 15 years later, that stink has not sort of worn off by any means. Yeah. It's disappointing because it could be a cool opportunity for a developer to do their own thing with Bioshock, and that clearly was not the marching orders here. It really was like, don't stray too far from the script, don't do anything super creative, just really kind of give the people what they want.
Who was the developer? Was it like a 2K studio?
It was a 2K. I don't know if I remember exactly who developed.
Because I was thinking like, like Obsidian, who does the sort of like, they make a Fallout game, or like not Obsidian, but the Bethesda team makes a Fallout game, and then Obsidian makes like their own sort of like spin-off, like New Vegas or whatever. And then those are generally extremely well regarded, but it feels like they have their own vision for what they want to do, and it's not just make more Fallout.
Right.
And the same thing they did the Knights of the Old Republic sequel, right? I just think that's sort of been their MO, but it's a shame that whoever was behind Bioshock 2 couldn't have done something similar, where they were like, oh yeah, we have this cool idea, like a twist on the Bioshock formula beyond maybe just playing as a Big Daddy.
Yeah, I mean, Bioshock could be, I think, like Fallout. Bioshock could be like a world that, like, you can tell it a bunch of different kinds of stories with different characters and different motivations in. And again, clearly that was not the marching orders for these developers. I'm looking now, and it looks like it was developed primarily by 2K Marin, with help by 2K Australia, and Digital Extremes did the multiplayer mode. Arcane helped with some world design and level. Yeah, geometry. They went on to make Dishonored, and a bunch of other things. Which feels very familiar. Like, as I think about it now, Dishonored is basically your right hand is a weapon and your left hand is a magical ability. Yeah. But basically every Arcane game is that. So yeah, this is not to diminish their achievement by any means, but this is 2K house development teams churning out a sequel that I think a lot of people probably felt like they wanted at the time, but in hindsight maybe doesn't feel like the best use of the property.
Yeah. I think that they had kind of a surprise hit on their hands when the first one came out, so it's not that surprising that they're just like, all right, make another one of these. But clearly that's not what the original team wanted to do.
Yeah.
Did you get to check out the actually, did you wrap it up? I was going to ask if you had played the DLC, but I don't know.
I haven't finished it yet. I have not played the DLC yet. It's on my list. I will get to it eventually. I do want to finish this. I feel like I've played enough of it that I'm probably pretty close. I'll see the end at some
70%.
And it's usually where it goes. Yeah. And I'll hop over to the DLC. I will not check out the multiplayer because I don't care.
No? Oh man.
No.
The first one didn't have multiplayer, did it?
It did not. Nope.
I assume it's like competitive, like Big Daddy deathmatching or something.
Yeah.
Because like System Shock 2, I don't know if the first one had multiplayer, but System Shock 2 did. But it was like co-op through the campaign, which was really crazy because you could like actually have different player specializations starting out.
Oh, interesting.
It was almost like Deus Ex, like one of you could be the hacker and the one was like the heavy weapons guy.
Oh, kind of class-based.
Yeah. So, I mean, that could have been really cool if they had done that and do a co-op version.
Yeah. Or you're a team of splicers. You're a group of splicers that you're like trying to like find assets and find energy and find money and stuff like that. And every now and then a Big Daddy shows up and you have to work together to vanquish them.
Yeah, the Bioshock extraction shooter. Right. Way ahead of its time.
But nope. We were not trying to do anything too creative with this.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bioshock 2. I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm glad I went back to it, but it is definitely more Bioshock.
Yeah. It's just like, well, it's just like they said.
Yeah.
Interesting. I do want to check out the DLC at some point, but I think you have to like buy the full thing. So
yeah. It is not a standalone. We did the coincidence here is that we have somebody in the community, somebody was talking about had just finished Minerva's Den. Russ Greeno from the VGHangover Discord community had just chimed in that he actually just finished Minerva's Den the other day, which is the Bioshock 2. I guess
that's the DLC, yeah.
The piece of DLC for Bioshock 2 that the community generally seems to like. So he said that it was, what did he say? Just finished it today. It has some different weapons and at least one new plasmid and a bunch of interesting mechanics. He thought that Bioshock 2 was a bit of a slog, so he was just trying to rush through the DLC. So maybe he didn't give it the sort of time and attention it deserved. So, yeah. I don't feel like Bioshock 2 is a slog yet, but it is sort of checking the boxes.
I wonder if you would have felt the same way if you had come off or right after playing Bioshock 1.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, at this point, it's maybe nice to go back and revisit Rapture and be like, oh yeah, I remember plasmids and all this stuff.
Yeah,
probably less novel when it came out.
Yeah, and I don't know that people wanted novel necessarily. I don't know if that was sort of like the expectation from a sequel is that you don't deviate too far from the thing that made the first one exciting. I don't know.
I just feel like the surprise and shock, no pun intended, of Bioshock 1 was no longer there. Yeah.
I keep waiting for that because there were story beats in the first Bioshock that were genuinely surprising, and there has not been anything that has happened in this game. You get in the beginning, and it happens within the first 20 minutes of the game. You're not quite sure who you are. You wake up kind of in first person, and you eventually meet a little sister who walks you past kind of one of the big windows looking out on the ocean.
It's the big floor, like the mirror.
Well, you can see your reflection in the window.
Yeah.
And you get sort of this confirmation that, oh, you're a big daddy. And I don't know where the marketing was in what year was this? 2004 or whatever.
2010 or something.
Was it that point? I don't remember. No, 2004 would be too far ago. Yeah, so whatever year this came out, if the marketing told you explicitly that you were a big daddy, or if that was meant to be the big surprise in the first 10 minutes of this game.
Oh, I was going to say, I think everybody knew.
Yeah,
he was on the cover, I think. But yeah, that would have been an amazing reveal if they had kept that covered up. Oh, maybe that should have been that could have been it. That could have been like Bioshock 2's legacy.
Surprise.
You're not playing a Solid Snake, you're a big daddy.
So Bioshock 2. I do want to talk about Portal Revolution briefly. This is a very cool fan-developed game. I think started life as a mod of Portal 2. If I remember correctly, this is free. I don't think they can charge for it, but it's you can download it from Steam. It works great on the Steam Deck, and it is a many hours long sequel to Portal 1, prequel to Portal 2. You are a test subject once again. You wake up kind of in the destroyed remains of Aperture Science. It is in quite a state when you wake up. There is an AI that is trying to usher you through test protocols, and you quickly get a portal gun in your hand. It has limited functionality at first, but then eventually it does all the things you would expect a portal gun to do. You get through some introductory levels, which feel very much like Portal levels. And they kind of push a lot of the same buttons where you're sort of like, oh, if, you could shoot a portal while you're in the air, and you can build momentum by sort of like continuously looping through a couple. So it gives you kind of like the nuts and bolts of how to think with portals. And then you get kind of a bit of a story reveal. And then kind of the world is open to you from that point. You're still ostensibly going through the routine of kind of test chambers. So the structure of a Portal 1 or a Portal 2. It is very ambitious for something that's fan made, fully voice acted. There are two. Eventually, there's a second kind of AI companion, the little cores that kind of float around in the ceiling and chat with you. Fully voice acted, big personality on both of them, super memorable. I don't know who the voice actors are that are doing this. I'm not sure if it's the devs themselves or if they hired out air quotes professional voice actors. They could very well be pros who have worked on other video games. I don't know their names, but do a really nice job. There's some really good, very kind of like Valve level writing and character development that happens here. They're quirky and funny and a little unreliable. It sort of like Bioshock 2, it kind of does all the things that you want a Portal sequel to do. The difficulty level in the puzzles is a bit of a gamble. The first 3 or 4, I was like, man, I hope this gets harder, because I was just blazing through them. Yeah. And then I got to and I remember it distinctly because I had to Google the solution. The 8th puzzle broke me. I like running in circles, shooting everything I can, just trying to sort of make all of the tricks I know about Portal games work. And I could not for the life of me figure out what the hell this game wanted me to do on the 8th puzzle. I'm still in the prologue. I'm still in the thing that sort of is teaching you how to play Portal. And I could not for the life of me figure out how I was going to get past it. So I had to look up a solution. And the good news is, when I sort of found a thread on Reddit, I was not the only one who got hung up on Test Chamber 8. There were a lot of people who were like, what the hell with this game? So really kind of initially quite uneven in terms of level of difficulty. I felt like with the Portal games, there was some progression to it. You waited a little bit before it got too insane. Portal Revolution does not do that. It gets insane pretty quickly.
Really? That's interesting. So how are the puzzles after Test Chamber 8?
Comparable. I think it never really. Yes. Multi-stage. It's not just a matter of one portal near the door and one portal near the start, and you kind of walk out. You have to figure out what the mechanism is, and there's a switch way up on a high platform somewhere, and what is the series of thinking with portals that's going to get me to that place to be able to push the button and walk out the door. Not simple by any means, not 30-second solutions, which is what I was doing kind of up to World 8, or up to Chamber 8. Certainly much more kind of multiple steps and certainly more difficult. After 9, there's a story beat that happens after 9 where you sort of figure out what the bigger picture is. GLaDOS is not in this because of the events of Portal 1, and Portal 2 hasn't happened yet. These 2 AI characters have to sort of carry the weight of the story and the characters and stuff like that. It's good. It feels like a Portal game. It feels fully realized. It's all the stuff that you would sort of expect. And I know I just slagged on Bioshock 2 for doing that. But this feels, at the very least, like there was some kind of interesting thinking around using kind of the Portal logic and all the other stuff, the turrets and the companion cubes. And there are laser switches in this, and you get these little prism boxes that will shoot the lasers in different directions, and that opens up a couple of different new mechanics and ways of progressing, where you're trying to figure out sort of again, that puzzle chamber number 8. you had to sort of shoot a laser through a portal to come out a portal on the other side, to hit a thing, to shoot lasers in 2 different directions to trigger an elevator and a switch at the same time. And it was oh, this hurts my brain. But that is what I like about Portal. You really sort of have to work for these solutions. They're not going to give them to you.
I was going to ask if they had introduced any major new functionality, in the second one. What was you had the slime or whatever it was?
Yes, there is some of that in this too. Yeah.
Yeah. Prisms are kind of the new thing in this.
I don't know if they're new to this. I don't know if I remember them from the other games. It's been a bit since I played Portal 2.
Yeah.
This was developed after Portal 2, but takes place before Portal 2. So I think the developers again have the luxury of knowing what Valve did during the development of or included in the development of Portal 2 to be able to sort of like do some retroactive continuity here. But it's really good. I'm having a really good time with it. It reminds me of everything that I like about Portal games.
Oh, yeah, it's been a while since Portal 2.
It continues to be super surprising. I don't know how big the dev team was. Like I said, I know it started its life as a mod of Portal 2, so it's certainly built on a skeleton of that engine. But to have gotten sort of Valve's blessing to release it as a standalone product, and for it to be, the internet says it's 8 to 10 hours long with character progression and a bunch of new mechanics and stuff like that, is super ambitious. So kudos to these folks for pulling it off.
So it's on the same engine as Portal 2?
That is my understanding, yes.
Interesting. I haven't really kept up. Like, I don't know what state the source engine is these days, but I was just thinking, oh, maybe that would be a cool opportunity to layer all the fancy new like graphics technology onto this, because it's something Portal 2 didn't really have. But man, you can just imagine all the cool like portal reflections and lasers and dramatic lighting everywhere. Might be kind of cool. Portal like had such a cool aesthetic to begin with. It just look even better.
Yeah, totally. And the stuff that was fun about Portal 1 is that there was sort of that kind of that sanitized, stark white kind of like test chamber after test chamber. But then every now and then you would sort of see the kind of the cracks in the facade. The cake is a lie and all that other stuff that sort of came in. And you see there's a bit of a revolution happening at Aperture, because you can sort of see behind the scenes a little bit as the game progresses. And in this, because Aperture is more or less destroyed and all of the human employees are gone, it's sort of the robots running the asylum, essentially. The first character, the first little core robot that is your companion initially in the game, is the director of facilities, and he is basically has been in charge of cleaning up after the humans, but there's no humans anymore. So he doesn't know what to do with himself, and he's working with you to try to like do something that will start Aperture up again. So again, some kind of aspirational storytelling happening here, and these indie developers are working really hard to find a story that they can fit into the time between Portal 1 and 2, that sort of like provides a satisfying conclusion to Portal 1 and also ramps you up for Portal 2. So I think it's really interesting that these guys pulled this off, and also sort of pushed all the right buttons for giving you some really challenging puzzles to hammer your way through.
Is this, I know you said it's like sort of Valve approved, but did you get the sense that this is like, I don't know, sanctioned expansion to the Portal universe, like in terms of the story? Because I know they're like really cagey about that kind of stuff.
Oh, is it canon? Is that the question?
Oh, yeah. Is it canon? Yeah, let me get that out there.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I feel like if it was officially blessed in that way, that there would have been like a lot more like uproar about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they made Portal 3 kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in sort of the years since Portal 2, there were a couple of different little like Portal licensing agreements. There was that little Lego kit. They did that Toys to Life thing with Lego that was based in the Portal world, and there was that game Bridge Constructor or whatever it was that was Portal edition. Game. Yeah, so there clearly were a lot of attempts to sort of license Portal, and I don't know that, again, in hindsight, that any of those things are meant to be sort of taken as a real extension of the Portal universe. But yeah, the fact that this takes place at Aperture and is sort of released on Steam, on a Valve platform, I think leads me to think that at the very least there is some, if not blessing, approval for this to exist. I don't know. It's interesting.
All right. Well, I'll have to look up the the Portal timeline diagrams, which I'm sure somebody's already put together. They're like, here's where the timeline diverged in Portal Revolution.
Well, it gets me thinking about what, like, if Valve were to, like, stealth drop, surprise, here's Portal 3, everybody wanted this. Like, what would I want from a Portal 3?
I don't know. I don't know if I could handle much more than they were doing in Portal 2, for being completely honest. That's something I really enjoyed about Portal 1 is how simple it was. Or just, like, how few elements there seemed to be that you had control over anyway. But still, they were able to make all these really cool puzzles out of just having, like, the portal gun.
Yeah.
And then Portal 2 was like, okay, this is like maybe still manageable and I'm just able to get through the whole thing. But if they just add like 3 or 4 more components on top of everything else, I don't know if I might like tap out at that point.
Yeah.
Just turns into The Witness or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think, like, if they did a Portal 3 and it was just more test chambers, do you think that's satisfying, or do they need to go somewhere else with it? Would you want to play a game that's just like 40 more test chambers?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think Portal 2 was a great expansion of Portal 1.
Yeah.
So I think, going back to my sequel preferences, I feel like it justified there being a Portal 2. But I think Portal 3, they'd have to do something crazy. I don't know what it would have to be. And I've, like, all these years, I've kind of felt like I don't really need a Portal 3. I would love to see something that was a complete lateral move, like, oh, it's not portals anymore, but here's a new puzzle game where you're like, maybe it's all slime or something. Or that one what was the one that was that had John Delancey in it that came out around
Quantum
Portal?
Conundrum.
Yeah. So something like that, where it's like, okay, so here's a completely different approach to what you're doing in Portal, but same sort of like methodology.
Yeah, I think there's that, and there's that other one. I think it was called the Entropy Center.
Yeah.
Where you had an entropy gun where you could keep rewinding time as it broke down, so that you could, like, as a bridge collapsed, you could rewind to reassemble it so you could cross, et cetera, et cetera. And you had to basically kind of rewind the universe ultimately so that the Earth wouldn't blow up and yada, yada. So it was like little puzzles on the way to big ambitions. And it felt very Portal-y, obviously, because it was a gun that did all of this stuff. You had a little AI companion that was chatting with you, and et cetera, et cetera. Quantum Conundrum was very similar. I think had a test chamber structure too. So I think there are developers who, as the gaming universes want to do, have gone to the extent of making kind of unofficial Portal sequels. So, as much as I love Portal, I don't know if I need more Portal specifically, but, I'd love to see anything new from Valve, basically, that's not like an online multiplayer game. Yeah. Valve as a developer, right?
Yeah. I mean, just like, I don't know if the developers who worked on Portal are still at Valve, but it feels like, if you want something that's similar to Portal, there's all those games you just mentioned. I'm sure somebody, like, on top of Portal Revolution, there are probably tons of games that just, like, replicate the Portal mechanics and have, like, thousands more test chambers that I could play. But, I don't know if I need a new, like, Portal 3 from Valve.
Yeah. I want it because I enjoy it, and I would like there to be more of it, but I get it. I understand that more of something isn't always the thing you want, really. There is one, again, I think it's another kind of mod turned into a standalone game called Portal Reloaded, and I've not played that yet either. I don't know much about it, but just in the search for information about Portal Revolution, that has come up as well, so I'll have to track that down. But maybe there is enough other Portal things out in the world that I don't necessarily need a third game.
Yeah.
But my thought was, if we're going to do a Portal 3 someday, and by we, I mean Valve, you kind of have to get it out of the Aperture Science Labs, and it has to, like, be in the world. Because Portal, the quest in Portal 2 is to get the hell out of the science lab. And I won't share the ending, but I think there are questions about the implications of having a portal gun in the real world, outside of the labs, that could be explored in a fun way in Portal 3.
I'm not a game designer. I'm definitely not a puzzle game designer, but I feel like as soon as you open up Portal to, like, wider environments, it's just like, I don't even know how you would manage to like make it work and just not have the player break the game immediately. Because I think
Right.
like with the test chambers, you are at least in these very tiny spaces where there's like, okay, there's very little you can do to like ruin this puzzle.
Right.
But as soon as you're outdoors, you can just put a portal anywhere. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I'm sure there's some very like creative, like hand wavy way to just counteract that. But
Right.
I'll leave that part up to Valve.
Yeah.
Gives me like a migraine though, thinking about having to make an open world Portal game.
Well, maybe that's why that hasn't happened. Maybe there has been like hundreds of thousands of human being hours spent trying to sort of make Portal 3 work, and it just ends up with people just completely breaking it.
That would be extremely funny if they're like, oh, we actually have been trying to make Portal 3 for the last like 15 years or whatever. It just turns out it's impossible because there's just nowhere to go with it.
Can't be done, right?
They can make a game around that. Like, why can't we make Portal 3? Why can't you have portals outdoors?
What is next on your Backlog Attack list, DJ?
Next, I'll be playing Omega Boost, the spiritual sequel to Star Fox on the PlayStation 1. Well, that's not true, but maybe it's more true than false. I will be streaming it on Thursday, the same day this episode comes out. If you'd like to catch that, have more info in the show post at VGHangover.com. But nice. I'm really looking forward to that. Dragging myself out of the 1980s to play this cool mech shooter game should be fun.
Excellent. I'm going to try to finish both of these games before I move on to my next thing. I don't need to play 3 games simultaneously, but hopefully get to credits on Bioshock 2 and Portal Revolution pretty quickly, and then I'm going to jump into 1,000 Times Resist, I think.
Hey, all right. I really like that game.
Get out of sort of puzzle games and action games into something a little more talky, a little more cerebral, maybe.
Oh, yeah. It's very much both of those things. It's too late to suggest this because we're like 2 weeks into this, but I would be interested how that game is sort of played like very episodically, because I think it's 10 chapters. And each one is maybe an hour or so long.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate that is, but it feels like, you could very feasibly do one episode an evening if that's how you wanted to approach it.
Yeah. Well, cool. In the interest of like how to budget my time on that, maybe that's a way to think about it.
Yeah.
Cool. We do want to encourage all of our listeners to go to VGHangover.com and get a link to our Discord. We have a Backlog Attack channel set up there where a bunch of folks from the community, including DJ and I, are posting updates on our progress, on our wish lists for the summer. And we have some side quests for everybody. We want to challenge everybody this week to share a screenshot, a couple of screenshots, any screenshots really, of a game over screen or you died screen. Credits roll, anything like that will show progress on the game that you're in. Again, shout out to Superleaf444 for sharing their 102% completion on Donkey Kong Country 2. We would love to see more of that stuff in the Discord channel.
Yeah. Just to formalize the whole backlog contest, or the contest component of the backlog thing.
Right.
We're bringing the contest back this year. As always, if you haven't been listening to the show for a while, we want to just encourage people to go back and play some of their old games. But at the end of the summer, at the end of August, we will select somebody from the participants who we have deemed accomplished the greatest feat of backloggery. I don't know if that's 102%. I don't know if it's like 170%, like 500%.
Yeah.
But that person will receive the new release game of their choice, because at that point they'll be done with their backlog. They won't have anything else to play.
Right.
And it's all very subjective. It's sort of whatever we decide is the greatest feat, but it doesn't necessarily mean, I finished the most games or I finished the longest game. It's based on what you've been playing and what you end up getting through.
Right. All right.
Plus all these other things like the side missions and that stuff that we mentioned.
Yeah. It does not hurt to be visible and loud, I think is maybe the advice, is just be memorable. But yeah, to DJ's point, it's not like, finishing 6 100-hour long games by any means. It's just who has done something impressive with their 1 month of gaming.
I had to say, if you did finish 600-hour games, that is pretty impressive.
It's bananas, yeah. It's too much, really. It's irresponsible for us to even advocate for that.
Oh, man. Yeah, please don't do that. Who has accomplished too much backloggery? Who went over 100% this month?
Yep. If you're playing 6 Dragon Quest games this month, you are eliminated from consideration. You're out.
No, I can't abide by that.
It's just irresponsible.
I want to hear about the person. Like, what's their approach to playing 6 Dragon Quest games in 1 month?
Simultaneously.
Yeah, it's like, are they like multi-boxing? Are they doing them in order? Or what's the plan here?
Just a split screen thing. It's like just 4 quadrants. Yep.
Ooh. It's like the 3DS Dragon Quest 11, but it's 2 different Dragon Quest games on both screens.
Ugh, that's crazy. All right, we want to wrap this up. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Blue Sky. We're VGHangover.com there, and you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join our Discord. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com as well. And we would encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice, and maybe help us out by telling your friends about the show.
Yeah, we appreciate that a lot. It helps us get the word out to more listeners, and they can join in and let us know about their, weird backlog preferences? I don't know.
Yeah.
Their approach to playing all Dragon Quest games simultaneously. Figure out what the best method is.
Right.
Anyway, speaking of playing all Dragon Quest games simultaneously, we'd like to give thanks again to Ray 8-Bit for our intro and outro music this week. If you'd like to hear more of his work, you can go to ray8bit.bandcamp.com. Download everything in there. That would be great.
Would be great. Is this Friday Bandcamp Friday? It might be.
I don't think so. Well,
No?
wait. What day is it? What month is it? What year is it?
It's the first Friday of August.
Okay. Well, there's a chance it's Bandcamp Friday this week. See, every time we mention this, it turns out it's not. I had to go and edit it out.
Oh, no. All right. Well,
anyway.
I apologize for the bad advice, or you're welcome.
Well, how about you just go on Friday, go to ray8bit.bandcamp.com and buy everything there, regardless of whether it's Bandcamp Friday or not.
Right. That is good advice.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week.
Yes.
Yeah, we will. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Sorry, I was waiting for you to approve that. We are doing this weekly, right? Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.